Hello dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. Yes, perhaps everybody's dream setup, the setup that every Velocity 1 flight stick owner would love to have. You've got the flight stick in combination with the Flightdeck Throttle Quadrant, taking full advantage that this is its own entity. You connect this to your PC via its own dedicated USB cord. So, with Microsoft Flight Sim, you can use this in conjunction with the flight stick, and I've got to say it's pretty spectacular. I'm going to be showing you that in this video. I'm also going to be showing you that these dials in the Turtle Beach flight hangar or flight manager that you get the app for this basically, these register as buttons, the dials, so you can set up these for autopilot shenanigans, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be showing you that also in this video. And towards the end of the video, perhaps, I'm going to give you my theory, and it is only a theory, it's not official, on the whole production, or the reasons why this exists in effect. I'll come on to that later. Remember, it's only a theory. Okay, let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with the video. Okay, so I'm set up at runway 27 Hoddesdon International, this time in the Cessna 172, because there's a couple of things I want to show you here. Let me just get to options and control options, and we'll click on the flight deck, flight deck throttle rather. Just open some of these autopilot things up. I'll bring in the camera. So there we go. And we'll concentrate on the flight deck. Now, like I said, these rotary dials register as buttons. As you can see, when I'm turning this one, this will increase or decrease my autopilot reference vertical speed. I'll be showing you that. I've also got a button set, this one here, to toggle between, toggle vertical speed mode on and off. And this one, remember, this is two different dials. The top dial will increase or decrease my autopilot reference altitude. Isn't that fantastic? I've also got a rocker button. I won't turn this around now, but I've got a rocker button at the front of this throttle, and that will increase and decrease my heading bug. There we go. Just open that. You can see them flashing. Just the rocker switch on the front of that I'm just using. And this is not complete yet. I'm still setting this up, still playing with all these options. It's just great. These dials actually register as buttons. Typically with dials on flight controllers, I've had this before, rotary dials won't normally work properly. These seem to. So there you go, on the flight stick, I'll link a video down below in the description. I've not changed much. The only thing I have changed, let me just show you. And you won't see this in the Cessna 172. But you would see it in something like the 182. Flight control services. No, it's not flight control services. It would be power management. I've put mixture and throttle, propeller rather, for these two. Because now I've got the throttle here. I don't need any of these as throttle. So there you go. Mixture as usual there. This one is propeller. So if you're in propeller aircraft, or aircraft with a propeller control, that is now set to that. So there you go. So because of that throttle, yeah, you can have that, which is brilliant. Okay, let's go back. Let's get back into the aircraft. And what we'll do, we'll jump inside. So I've got to concentrate on two screens here. But what I'll do, so my controls here, like I said, I'll link a video about my setup for this. I'll link the overdrive setup, which shows you all kinds of things you can do with just the flight stick alone. But mainly I've got the same controls apart from changing that now to propeller. What I'll do though, as you can see, autopilot reference altitude. Remember, I've got this dial. Look up here. I've got this dial set and it works. Look, I can set that. Let's set that. Just moving it to the right to... oh, I don't know. Works fine, doesn't it? Something like 2,000 feet. 2,200 feet will do, in fact. Remember the rocker switch. Now look at my heading bug here. I've got a rocker switch set up there. I can just move my heading bug to my current heading. Isn't that brilliant? And what we'll do... same controls. I'm just going to throttle up. I've got a button set as park and brake here. I mean, you can set those buttons anywhere, but we'll just control... we'll just get off the ground now. Take off, in effect. There we go, just keeping an eye on the speed down here. I'm getting up to takeoff speed. Which is great. And up-see we go. That will do. Oops. Bit of a unique takeoff that, wasn't it? And just trim up a little bit, just using the old trim wheel, of course. There we go. Autopilot on. And heading mode on. So I've just got a couple of buttons for autopilot and heading mode. So we're in autopilot control. I can come down. I can already see my vertical speed is a bit high there. So I've got a toggle button here for vertical speed. And the dial here will change that to a lesser rate. Look at this. So I've enabled vertical speed here, and I've just changed it to 500 feet per minute climb. Let's change that to 700 feet per minute climb using that dial. And again, I can toggle that vertical speed on and off, which is brilliant. We've got the rocker switch to control my heading. There we go. I just come to the... am I in heading mode, in fact? I wasn't. Now I'm in heading mode. Wasn't in heading mode, but I am now. So change my heading. Rocker switch up. Just to move my heading the other way. There we go. I was pressing the wrong switch there. There's two rocker switches. I've got one set for flaps and one set for heading. But there we go. So that all works fine, as you can see. So there you go, using that. And of course, if we get to using the flight stick itself, let's take it off autopilot. Of course, you know the flight stick by now if you own one. Beautiful controller to work. The best in its class price range, in my opinion, the flight stick by itself. But there you go, using it now. Especially with that throttle system. Put it back on autopilot, decrease my speed, and off you go, and you can do all sorts of that. So it works absolutely fine. Okay, so with that out of the way, let me now take you to my theory about that Flightdeck Throttle Quadrant. Okay, so theory time. This is my theory, and it's not canon, and it relates to the Flightdeck Throttle Quadrant. I've not heard anything official, so just keep in mind, this is my own theory. I do believe this started development when it was in its development phase, because especially it's a different entity. You can plug the throttle quadrant in as its own entity, and it will work, as I just showed you, with something like a flight stick or other flight stick that you will own, at least for PC, Microsoft Flight Sim. I believe this started in its development phase as an add-on for the flight stick. Or that was the original idea. I believe that. Then they found out that because of all these complex controls that they have enabled on this, couldn't reliably work on the Xbox platform, which left the market just for those who own this on PC. And I don't believe that there were enough users in Turtle Beach's mind to justify that just as a product just for the PC market, for the PC owners who own this. That's a possibility. Like I said, that's just a theory. So then they introduced the flight stick with this and thought, well, look, we'll sell this as a flight deck with a flight stick with a lot more controls. Go and look at my original video, which is linked down below in the description, about the flight deck. So with like I said, with the actual stick that comes with this, they'll sell that as a unit and see how that goes. I have a suspicion that this will become available, the actual throttle quadrant, or I'm hoping it would. It will become available as its own little unit further down the line. I also believe that the R&D costs, or the research and development costs, were slightly higher than expected, so that they would have to sell this possibly at maybe £180 to £200 if they sold this separately now. I do believe those costs will come down over time. I think what they're doing, they're testing the market, they're seeing how the flight deck will sell as a unit. Then later down the line, perhaps they'll even get a way of this working for the Xbox and sell this as its own separate unit as an add-on for those who already own the flight stick. I believe there were enough units of the flight stick sold. I mean, if you look at the top 5 units sold over the past 2 years, I believe this will feature within that top 5 because it's quite a, you know, I wouldn't say it's inexpensive, but it's quite an obtainable for many people. The price range of this, just the flight stick, is quite obtainable, and I believe enough units were sold where they can justify selling this as its own product, as a separate product. So not the whole flight deck, just the throttle quadrant. And hopefully when it does go on sale, it might be priced at something like £150, I would expect, which I believe a lot of people expected or wanted. They wanted a throttle quadrant to go along with this, ideally for the same price as this, but you know, with all these controls, I can't see that happening with all the sorts of costs of this, the design costs. I can imagine this going on sale for £150. I've got a sneaking suspicion that might happen, and I do believe that should happen. So, Turtle Beach, if you're watching this, and you probably know this yourself, you would have your own landscape mapped out for this for the future. If this ever goes on sale as its own separate unit, yeah, ideally put it for the same price as that, but no more than £150. I expect something like that will happen, but that's just my theory. It's not canon and it's not official. I would like to know your thoughts below on that in the comments. Anyway, do give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. Probably my next video on this will be setting up controls for the whole flight deck unit, so going crazy with the throttle and flight stick that comes with the flight deck unit. So my setup, my controls for it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more, and I'll be seeing you soon.